So lots of stuff happened, but I was not going to give up. I'm going to win in spite of and because of. So what makes success is doing a lot more than what is asked of you. Nothing anymore is bad. It's all something I could learn from, grow from, and need to change from, because I don't want that to happen again.
Right.
This is a story I've never told anybody.
This is it. It's happening.
This is happening.
I'm excited.
This is a world premiere of this
Okay,
story.
good. Yes. Welcome, everybody. I'm here sitting with the legendary Ivana Chubbuck, who is the acting coach for the stars. Thank you for allowing us into your home today for this interview.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
I've been diving into your world for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You struck me because I love how you try to tie in the realness.
Mm-hmm.
If you want actors to win, you want them to have an emotional scene, they have to tie into something from their past, so they feel emotional to go and deliver. So you're not faking it. It's a real story. And what I'm super curious about is how can we apply that to the business world, the entrepreneurial world, or being a better coach or being a better communicator? Because at the end of the day, it's about communication,
Always.
right? Transferring emotion.
Yeah.
And so maybe as a starting point, using me as a guinea pig. So what I'll do a lot of is coaching entrepreneurs. So I'm doing a workshop here tonight in LA. We're going to have 90 people showing up. People are going to ask me their business problems. I want to reach them in a way that will make them take action and not just give the practical tips and knowledge, but move them. Can we apply your technique to that?
It's the human experience, and basically my technique is based in behavioral science, psychology, and cultural anthropology, which is the history of mankind and the human experience and why we do the things that we do. That never really changes. The dynamic of our needs are always the same, and they're universally the same. We all have the same issues with abandonment, issues of feeling not good enough, feelings of being like we're trying to prove ourselves or getting our power back, or the same fears and insecurities that exist all over the world. And what makes culture is how we manifest those needs, those basic human needs. So can what I do work for entrepreneurship? Can it work for relationships of any kind, whether it's a business communication or communication that you're putting something up on the stage? It's the same dynamic that we're dealing with, the same concepts that we're dealing with. So one of the things that I think is really important is that finding what it is that we love to do. Because if we're going to talk about in terms of coaching people in the business world, and being an entrepreneur or any version of the business world, even being a part of somebody else's company, you have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, then you are going to watch the clock and it's going to go very, very slow. You're not going to want to work those extra hours or have that impulse and inspiration to do more than what you're asked to do. Because what makes success is doing a lot more than what is asked of you. So you have to figure out first what's my love, what is the thing that I really want to do with my life. One of the things I would start off with in terms of like your world is to have people write a journal of what it is that I want to be successful, who I want to be successful for, and why. So it would be in terms of, I want to be successful for, first name that comes to your head. You.
Helping entrepreneurs.
No, person's name of why you want to do it. Person's name, mom, dad, sons.
Oh, for somebody else?
Yeah. Why do I need to be successful? I need to be successful for...
Myself comes to mind, but that's not the answer you want.
No, it could be yourself. Okay, and why yourself? That's the next. The because The power of why
Yeah.
is really important.
Okay.
Why do you want to help entrepreneurs? Well, I'm trying to do something for myself. Why yourself? Now, it could be many levels of things. It could be yourself because you felt like, in my case, it might be the answer because my father had to give up so much of what his love was and his passion was, and he knew what his passion was, but he couldn't. He had 7 kids, so he couldn't follow that passion. And so for me, I need to do for myself would be, I then boil it down to, it was really for my father. So you couldn't do it, but I'm going to do this for you.
Okay.
And so that becomes a very important why. I did this for you because you weren't able to do this for yourself, and you were an incredible father. You were an amazing man. You were brilliant and very creative. I want to be able to say it wasn't for naught that you had to take care of a bunch of kids and then died fairly early in his life before he could even see my success. But it doesn't matter, because even though he's passed away, I'm still doing it for him. And my why is because I want to make up for the fact that he couldn't do it for himself. And then I also want my daughter to be able to find her way to being able to see me as someone that she respects and looks up to, because I didn't respect my mother. So the female in my life, but you see how the whys and the psychology of the stuff, which I would ask an actor to do in terms of playing a role. Why do you need to play this role? And what is this going to benefit you and empower you to do in solve in your own life? And so the idea is, I am all about empowering my actors to make choices that take the victim out of being a victim. So, because usually in drama, something happens to you that you have to, like, you hit bottom and you have to explore some kind of adventure that helps you to fix that drama. Your kid's been kidnapped. You've been, someone's chasing after you. You robbed a bank and you don't want to get caught. I mean, it's like some kind of thing that you're trying to solve. And then using your personalizations that allow you to find how you can solve something in your own life. So that's how we find it. So the idea is for yourself, and I'm going to ask you now, why?
Yeah. The 2 things that come to mind: one, I struggled so much as an entrepreneur. I isolated myself. My first business, insulated myself, was struggling, making $300 a month, afraid to tell my friends that I was struggling, said I'm hustling and living the entrepreneur life, but meanwhile $20 for pizza and beer was too much for me. And I just was working so hard and was not getting results, and I felt the most worthless as a human that I've ever felt. And so I go back to that pain and just eating beans for lunch every day, and just the struggle of doing that. I want to try to make the world better by having entrepreneurs not have to go through that same thing.
And give them some kind of answers that will allow them to be able to avoid the hurt, the tragedy that you felt inside your heart, that you really, as a man, because men feel more the pressure to prove that they can. It's just the biology of being a man. Like, I have to run my cave and provide for my family, and I mean, it's just again the nature of being the man versus the woman who creates life and then is born biologically to be a nurturer. So it became hyper necessary for you to do this because when did you start trying to be an entrepreneur with all the beans and stuff? but give me like, how many years ago?
So it was 19 years. 19 was when I started that company. I had tendencies for entrepreneurship before, but 19 was when I officially started that. I'm 38 now, so almost 20 years. I'm 39 in May. So
okay, so how long before you figured out that maybe it's not about me becoming an entrepreneur, but it's about me coaching entrepreneurs? When did that revelation happen, and what was the trigger for that?
So after I sold my business, so I struggled at the beginning. I built it up. I sold it. I got asked to start doing a whole bunch of speaking as a young entrepreneur success story. And I was flattered, and I said, sure, why not? I'll do it. And in the back of my head is my mom's voice, who would always say, if you have the ability to help, then you have the responsibility to help.
So you just told me something. Your
Yeah.
mother's the reason why you're doing all
Okay.
this. So we boiled it down to, and this is like pulling people into like the same world that this is what I do with actors.
Yeah.
It's like it's for yourself, but now we get down to the baseline is your mother.
Okay.
Your mother's saying, okay, great that you were accomplished and you became an entrepreneur and the bean days are over.
Right.
But you have more to give. And you wanted to make your mom proud. And you wanted to make her be right in her assumption of your abilities and your talents because the giver is often, the teacher has to be selfless. But there's such a joy to me when people say, do you ever miss acting? I say, I don't miss it at all because what I get out of empowering other people to greatness makes me feel like I was the one that was able to do that. So it makes me feel 10 times more empowered than I feel than even my clients,
Yeah.
because of I see how people respond to and their own, light that glows around their accomplishments and utilizing, and this is the basis of my technique, is utilizing your pain, your traumas, your insecurities as gifts. It's like instead of self-destructing with that information, use it to fuel your ability to overcome and win whatever it is you want. So first you have to figure out in terms of dealing with you're talking what do you want to do my sister when she decided that she wanted to just make more money, so she became she was a social worker and she go into marketing, went back to school to marketing, but she never loved it. Right. So she was never successful with it. Passion and love of what you do will make you, and by accident, because it's gravy. It's like if you love what you do, it doesn't matter if you make a lot of money. So, but what happens is the next thing you know is money's coming to you. I remember the big day where I was able to not have to balance my checkbook. But I wasn't thinking, I'm not going to do this to make money. I was thinking, I love doing what I do. I love breaking down a script. I love helping people solve their personal issues through their characters that they're playing on the screen, and therefore helping the world that watches them, because I have that domino effect. It's like I work with one person, but that one person shows millions of people, and the choices we make are about empowerment through pain. So we're not just so that's our message that goes subliminally through the movie or TV show or play that they're doing, and therefore we're touching so many people's lives internationally by doing that. And so that is something that I love doing so much that when money started coming, it was incidental. I mean, it's lovely. I have a Ferrari in my driveway, right. But the point is, it's not about that. And I perfectly loved my Dodge Dart,
Right.
And it was totally rusted out, and you couldn't see the ground, as you were driving along. And in Michigan, that was like where I grew up, was like, those are the kinds of cars that I would drive. And I brought it out here, my little jalopy, and I was, because it really was about finding my love. And first, when I was doing acting, came out here to act, it was, time went by so slow because I didn't love it. I liked the art of it, but I didn't love being the person who was the actor. And I found that time went by really slow. And when I was helping my friends with choices, which is what actors do with each other, time went by really fast, to the point where it became where I just said, I don't really want to act anymore, but because I like that time goes by so fast whenever I'm enjoying something, whatever it is. If someone likes to play tennis or, whatever it is that they do, it's like when time goes by fast, that means you love it.
Right. And
I also find that whatever you love, you probably have a gift for. It's interesting. That's just the psyche of like what we love. Love doesn't have to be the obvious loves. Loves could be something that you just like, accounting because you like the organization of numbers, and numbers are there's so much numbers can do, and the world is made up of numbers and math is so fascinating to me, and all the things math can do, and all the equations that can create all the scientific realities that we have and the technology that we're even here, sitting here, being able to talk and communicate with the world that we do,
Right.
all comes from math. And so the accountant loves math. And so he's going to be good at that. And it doesn't, without judgment, it's like you can only love things like being on camera or love architecture or writing a book or whatever. It's like without judgment, finding out what it is that you love, it's probably what your gift is too. And knowing what your gift is is one of the rarest things that people have. People go to their grave not knowing what their passion is and what their gift is, which is goes hand in hand. As opposed to trying to put the square peg in the round hole, which is a lot of people do. I want to be this. And I'm just going to keep, even though everything keeps struggling, everything becomes really difficult because you're just trying so hard and things aren't happening for you. When I first came out here, I was struggling to get acting jobs. But I was getting writing jobs and they were coming easily, but that was just to support my acting. Right. I said, I don't want to be a writer. I want to be, I'm an actress, and that's what I'm going to be. I'm like chiseling through, trying to get that audition, trying to make me, hey, I should be, this is what I'm meant to do. This is my destiny. But the things like writing my book, it's been translated into many languages and soon to be many more. It's really interesting. Mongolian, Slovenian, Greek, Mandarin Chinese, it's already in Simple Chinese.
What was the first language it got translated into?
Spanish.
Spanish, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. And that was me swimming in a pool in a Mexican, resort and just chatting away with somebody who was at the pool too, who happened to be a publisher who translated books from English into Spanish. And It was just one of those, but that's what I'm saying. The energy, no, it's not that. The energy whatever, if you find what you love, the energy will find people will attract because the world is our bodies are made up of 2/3 water, which is the best conductor of electricity. So when there's people feel that connection with each other, it's electrical impulses that are connecting, that are from the psyche, that are connecting, that we both have similar issues and a commonality of pain and all that kind of stuff, that just in the air that transcends language and ideologies and religion, whatever. And so I attracted that. And those stories, people say, you must have a great agent. It's like, I don't have one. I don't have one that puts that out there. I have one that makes deals. Right. They come to me, but I attract it, because it's something I love to do. It's something that I loved doing when I was a kid. I was someone who couldn't talk to people, so I couldn't express myself. I literally couldn't talk. I felt that anything I had to say was too stupid. Okay. So I would write. I'd write things to make sense. I'd hand them to people, and they liked me because I was funny, so I wrote funny stuff. So it's like, so finding my gift, even though I thought it was acting, when I finally just and someone told me this, you got to let the world give you your answers. Stuff's going to come at you, and you got to be open to it. You be open to maybe this is it. Try it out. This is a great story. You're going to love this story. Okay. So I had, he's still my friend, a very good friend, who is a nuclear physicist. But when I met him in high school, and he was a very, very talented jazz musician. He went to Berklee School of Music, and he actually played with Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, we're talking about he was hitting it and making it and not loving it. So he decided to do exactly that. He said, let's find out what it is that I love to do, because I don't know what it is. So he went back to college. He's 30 years old when this happened, so it was like 10 years of doing this other stuff, and successfully. And he took all different kinds of classes. So literature, journalism, history, all these things, and nothing was hitting him but his math courses were. And then he said, I'm going to do some science classes, and I'm kind of digging on this. Then he started doing some physics classes, and said, I love this. And he couldn't eat it up enough. And this guy's really good, talented musician, and he dropped all of that, and became a very, very heralded nuclear physicist with many, many things that he's discovered. And he travels the world and talking to thousands of other scientists. And he was just the guy who thought what his dream was something that was what he was good at, but it wasn't necessarily his passion and his love, but he figured it out. They became open to it. There's all different kinds of ways of being open. For me, it was being open to, I was doing something to support my acting, but then it turned out to be something that I just really enjoyed doing it. And I'm good at it. And it is a gift, you know? Yeah. And so doing that journal, I need to, I need to be successful for you, figure out who it is you need to be successful for, because, and then what you find out is like the bottom line of why you need to be. And then I really love, and then you would just keep writing, like automatic writing, and see what comes up. Then you figure out what you love, and you figure out where does that find its way. So how do I take my love and make it a business? And whatever that is, you help people. So give me, for example, something that so you found your way. This is your life. I can see you talk about it, and you're a bright light shines around you. So when you're talking to these people, you have to help them figure out what their love is. You have to see, what do you love to do? What is it, something that is no matter how silly or weird it is, and find a way to then explore their ideas of how to put that into play and make money doing it. Also, in terms of communication with people, exploring their, like, see, I look at you and make it about you. When you go into a job interview, for example, and you sit there and talk about yourself ad nauseum, it's like being in a party and you're talking to someone that's talking about themselves. What happens? You want to walk away. When the person's asking you a whole bunch of questions and you're answering, and then they're offering some of their stuff about their lives, and then going back to questions, what happens, it creates an interplay, a real dialogue, and an investment in your answers. I want to know your answers. I will be a better person from your answers. It makes the other person feel special. So that is the same in terms of making an employee or your employees feel that they want to do extra work for you, work harder for you, be a support player that makes them work harder, and then therefore your business becomes more successful. Your people that work for you have to be really happy campers. The people that you want them to hire you, you want to make them feel like we're a team. You're not hiring me. We're going to help each other. This is going to be a team, effort. This is a story I've never told anybody.
This is it. It's happening.
This is happening.
I'm excited.
this is a world premiere of this story.
Good. Yes.
When I first came out here, about a year or two in, one of my things that I wanted to do was comedy, and I got to know by writing, because being work ethic is a really important part of being a successful person. And so I would write a whole bunch of like short stories and write things for magazines and send it to them, and whether they hired me or not, sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But I would write, I had stacks of stuff that never got sold, but that's what you do. One person particularly responded to one of the funny stories I wrote, who was a very important comedy producer and writer. And so he invited me to go to a party where people like Steve Martin, some major comedy people were there. I was so intimidated. I said, I'm going to do a little experiment. I don't have much to tell these people. These people have lives. I'm a young girl who has very little experience to do anything. I come from Michigan, which is like, very, provincial, small, middle western kind of town. So I didn't have a whole lot of life experience. And so I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And then off their answers, I'm going to ask more questions. So there's like 3 hours of meeting different people and just asking questions. And that's all I did, was ask questions and responded. I was really listening to their answers, because there's questions based on their answers. So the next day, my new friend, the comedy writer, producer, said to me, "What did you do last night?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Everybody fell in love with you. They said you were the most scintillating conversationalist, and they so enjoyed your conversation. They really liked you." I never said one thing about myself. It was all questions. but I was a scintillating conversationalist that they wanted to spend more time with. So I think the moral of the story is, don't make it about you. It's boring to other people. People love talking about themselves. And if you truly are a person that should be an entrepreneur or somebody who's successful, you truly have to be interested in other people. If all you are is interested in yourself, you're not going to get the team. It's always a team that makes success. Your team will not support you because they say, you don't care about me anyway. But if you really are invested in the other person's knowledge, experiences, humor, giving them banter, like just enjoying a funny conversation. People want to spend time with you. People want to be a part of your world. People want you to be a part of theirs. And so I always say, take your eyes off of you and put them on the other person. Actors do this all the time. It's a real problem. Where actors make it all about their inner work and they're exploring their inner work. And I said, no, it's all about getting a reaction. Because then what their reaction is going to determine what you're going to do next. And then they feel that they're special enough that their answers mean something enough to you for you to be truly listening. So this is an example I always give to people. I say, if I go to a party and someone comes up to you and he says, Evan, good to see you. So what's up? What's going on? And then they keep walking.
Right.
Okay, so how does that make you feel? They asked you a question. They didn't stay to listen to the answer because they really didn't care to hear the answer. It makes you feel awful. It makes you feel like a small little invisible person, that doesn't count, and it makes you feel bad. Now you think that's the same concept as like someone who's asked questions without caring what the answers are. Truly care about the answers. I was talking to someone who's a CEO of like a major Chinese company yesterday, and he said he was telling me about one of the first like big jobs he got was that he was they were asking him questions and he kept throwing some stuff back, and he noticed in just a tiny corner of the room of this guy's office that he was being interviewed was a picture of a very famous race car driver, and it was very kind of like heralded as in terms of its being in a really great frame. So clearly something very important to this guy. So he brings up, as they're winding it down, he said, "I bet you I could beat you on a racetrack."
Okay.
And the guy says, "I'll take you up on that."
Okay.
And because he could, but he just saw that peripherally as something that was on his desk. This is like I'm saying, be interested.
Right.
Truly be curious. Truly care about other people, and be fascinated that the people are all living their lives and trying to survive, and how are they doing it? And the answers that they give also give you answers to help you too. So this is not just a trick. It will make your life happier and more satisfying to be able to like have real, true communication with somebody. It takes the loneliness out of life.
Wow. There's so much that you said there with the past few stories. So many jumping off points. Trying to figure out where I want to go next with this. It's amazing. The thing that's coming to my mind is another thing that I'm struggling with that I'd super appreciate your insights on that tie into everything you've been talking about, which is around I am afraid to get famous because I tie it to ego. And I'm curious how either you deal with it personally, because now you've become the star maker, but also the people you work with, some of them want it and crave it and like they need to be in the limelight, but for someone who is on the other side, humble.
Well, humble is very, very important.
Okay.
But ego is also important.
Okay.
Relying on the ego from a place of I need it and crave it is the pathology. It's a pathology.
Okay.
Having ego and feeling good about yourself is really important, because there's a healthy part to ego. Sure. So if you're someone that is afraid of the ego going to the place that becomes a disease,
Right.
because it is a disease. It's narcissism is basically what that's called, and is that the fact that you are cognizant of it, it means that's not going to ever be an issue for you. Enjoy your and enjoy your accomplishments. I think it's really important for people to get, I did that. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll tell people, it's like they'll do something really wonderful off of what I said, and I'll go, God, I'm good. But they know that that's coming from a humble place.
Sure.
It's the fact you did that was what made me feel good about myself. So I basically, with that joke, made it be about their accomplishment, but our teamship regarding that. And to be able to not brag, but to be able to acknowledge your accomplishments. Like when I said I have all these books in different languages, but that was like 4 years writing this book. I don't have the unhealthy part of the ego. I have the ego of a lot of hard work coming to pass and creating incredible results. So when I said that, did you feel that I was an egocentric person when I told you that? Not at all.
Yeah.
Because I was coming from the healthy part of ego. Ego, it doesn't have to be tempered when you're the kind of person that you are. You're a humble guy. So the thing is that you said what I would do is stop being afraid of stuff, because anything that is attached to fear is going to create fearful results. So you're going to censor yourself, and any version of censorship is going to stop you. So I'm afraid that's going to be too egocentric, so I'm not going to do that. Then you just miss an opportunity to have really great impulses based on a healthy ego.
Right.
And I think that people have to start loving themselves a little bit more and realizing that I accomplished this. Good for me. I worked really hard. I earned this. And the idea that the unhealthy part, the people that have the unhealthy egos, they don't know. They don't know. They're never going to fix something because they don't think they have it. All the people that you know that are very egocentric narcissists, do they think they are?
No.
They think they're the most giving, charitable, grateful people on the planet, and that's so. If you worry about it, it means you're not that,
right?
And so stop worrying about it, because all that's going to do is create stoppage. Never. Censorship is the enemy of forward motion and success in anything.
I'm gonna have to put that on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. It's a good Instagram one for you too. I like it.
So putting it on Instagram. Give me the tape now.
No, it's really great. Over the past couple of years, it's been now me forcing myself more into the front and not just behind, and learning that people can actually learn from my story to help them grow as well. And so sharing the story. And also, this is what I do when I give these kind of speeches, is I place out, and remember in the book there's a thing called substitution. Okay.
It's about substituting somebody else that you love and you care about.
Yes.
For the people that are strangers that you're acting with. Well, you can do that, and when you have those people that are in front of you that you're doing these events for, you place people that you care about. What I do is I place my family. I place, here's my sister Linda is right there, or the person that kind of looks like her. My brother Joe in the third row. My dad in the sixth row. So this way, when I'm talking to a group, I'm really talking to individuals. I'm really looking in people's eyes, and not going. I don't look at people as a mass, because nobody likes to feel like they're part of a mass humanity. So I see them as specific, and I talk to people, and I feel them, and I intuit them, and it's so I will. If you were part of 90 people here, I would find your face, and I'd be talking, maybe half that sentence would go to you, the second part of the second sentence would go to that person right behind you, or whatever. Because I'm relating to you as if we're having a one-on-one conversation, even though it's a group. I mean, I've had groups of 1,000 people, and it's you still can do that. And people do feel that you're doing that. It's a trick that a lot of Las Vegas or big performers do, is they will place in people that they love throughout the audience, so everybody feels that you're singing to them.
And so would you do that for the person that you are actually talking to, or just somebody next to them?
You just put right before. What I always do, I don't know necessarily if I don't like to be introduced.
Okay.
So I like to sit there and watch people come in, and I say hi.
Okay.
And so people go, it's her, she's on the stage, and I go, hi.
Right.
And so they automatically feel, comfortable and familiar with me, and I want them to feel, and I always have a chair like this so that it feels like I'm in a chair that would be in someone's living room. Then I get up, have my microphone, because I don't like those things that do that, because I like holding on to something. And I walk the stage and do that stuff. Sometimes I go into the audience. But I basically welcome them in. And so then maybe someone will come in and introduce me. I've already been there. Because I hate the being heralded. I want everybody to feel like I just happen to have some information you don't have. But we're all the same. We're all equal. And then, so this way it's not that, and here's a one and only kind of introduction. And it makes me feel weird, because that ego thing you're talking about.
Right. So is that censorship?
No, because I've created a fixer. So they can still say all that, but I've already proved that I don't have that kind of ego. So I don't need to censor myself. So the first couple of times before I figured that out, I was censoring myself. So the first couple of beats of doing the speech, I was not very good. Because censorship does create fearful results, which are stoppage. So I had to find a solvent. Always, all things that are problems are opportunities for to solve them. Opportunities for solution. So I found a solution that helped me be able to be in the room and not feel like I don't like to be self-aggrandized. I hate it. So they can still say all that stuff, but I've already proven to myself that I'm not, because I sat there watching everybody come in, and waving to them and saying, how you doing today?
Right.
and making a joke or whatever, and playing with people as they're coming in. And then and then while I'm doing that, I'm also kind of connecting them to people that I know. So it's the people you talk to, but it's just, even if it's you have to be presented, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way your story goes. It's like you come in and you immediately start to, this is what actors do in auditions. You immediately make your substitution choice, and you just kind of boom, 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 and to make it one person to make it easier. So you make it your wife, and your wife is there because she has a friendly face and she wants you to succeed, and it's sexy too. So it creates this connection on
Think
all
of the wrong
levels.
thing at the front of the stage then, maybe.
Well, no, but it's because sexuality is just your body part of your system.
Okay.
It's just think biology. Always think biology. And the most important chakra is the sex chakra, because it's creation. The energy of creation. So it's not the third eye, it's not the heart chakra, but it really is the number one chakra is your sex chakra, because of its creation. But that's why people who do sports are told not to have sex before a big event, because that energy needs to be restored into the game. And so it's a very powerful thing. But if you use your wife and put her out there, but you see, it made you smile when I said put your wife out there.
Yeah. And
so all of a sudden people go, I know him. I want to have him to be my friend on so many levels, So, and it doesn't read at all sexual. It just reads that I have a three-dimensional connection with you. My heart's with you, my intellect's with you, my gut is with you, and my body's with you. So it's like all the things that make up the human animal. Science.
All right.
All science.
You're going to bring a different energy to tonight's workshop. I'm liking that.
Well, it is, because and people don't even know. When I did this, I did an exercise where I call it chemistry exercise, which I can't do in this kind of environment. But I did in the small group of CEOs from this company, and it just was like I said, you connect to people. Part of it's substitution, and part of it's commonality of pain. So you don't feel uncomfortable about your own stories. Of course, I think you already know that. Your stories, that when I asked you, you were very open about, your struggles and how much you hated them, and you still remember them to this day. But then we talked about your mom and when something she said to you. You're here to help people, and that became the ding, 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 ding moment of that's really why you're doing it, because you love your mom. You're a product of her, and she gave you something that helped you understand your gift and your passion, and that's what moms are supposed to do, And so the idea of connecting to people is really, really important. That we are friends here. I will feel comfortable in telling you my stuff. You can feel comfortable in feeling your stuff. It's one of the things that I do to get people to open up. They often talk about my own stuff. I told you about my father, and that kind of made you start thinking about your mom. Okay, so even though you didn't say it right away, I knew I was inspiring that thought process. So you're not necessarily creating an actual dialogue with these people and when you're speaking to them. However, you are, because they are answering in their stories. So you keep it personal. Be open about revealing things that most people would be scared to reveal. Take shame out of your stories. Take doubt out of your stories. This is how I become this person that I am today, because of the things that I've experienced, all the bad and the good. They're equally as wonderful. So we have to look at our survival and our being able to win in spite of and because of our fears, our issues, our traumas, bad things that happen to us, that we see in spite of and because of becomes a journey of wealth, emotional wealth, because nothing anymore is bad. It's all something I could learn from, grow from, and need to change from, because I don't want that to happen again.
Right.
Or when it happens again, when and if it happens again, I'm more capable of dealing with this so I can make it less traumatic.
When you're telling the story about your dad, I was thinking you got into my head, but you actually got into my heart. You're not in my head.
Exactly.
You're in my heart, and so it's like a
Get
reverse
into people's
engineer.
hearts. Get into people's hearts.
Yeah.
That's the best business thing I could give to people.
Yeah.
Don't make it about the business. Get into their hearts. Like I told you the story about the race car moment.
Right.
And that was a great story. We're talking about it was like something, it's just a total corporate world. Nothing to do with the arts whatsoever. And that's what he did. And he's like a huge, ridiculously successful guy who came from a very kind of small middle-class family.
Yeah. So you mentioned that most people die and never figure out the thing that they should be doing. And
because they didn't look for it.
So here's
you gotta look for it. So, you gotta be open to it. You gotta do journaling on it. You gotta.
This is my question, because you said be open to it a lot, and so how much of it is being open and just recognizing what's happening in your environment versus
you gotta put yourself
seeking out?
Well, like that guy, like my friend Steve, who went back to school, and he said, "I'm just gonna try every topic and see what excites me." You gotta be proactive. Nobody's gonna knock on your door and say, "Here's your gift.
Right.
Here's your passion." You gotta go out and try different things. You gotta just think about just maybe the minorest things that excite you. I like playing tennis, and so you like playing games. Maybe creating something. Putting yourself in an environment where you take classes and how to put together making. Video games. I don't know. They're not called that anymore.
Yeah.
They're called video
Yeah,
games.
it's video games.
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, that's
so
okay.
I don't know.
Gamer, it's great. That's it. You got it.
But there's such a world out there. You can be so successful, and if you just love that so much, you be in that world. But see if that's something that you want to do. Being part of the making of the games, or being someone who sells the games, or being a part of the world of it that makes you feel that you are part of something that you're passionate about. But it could be anything. But just keep trying different things off of kernels of things that you love.
Do you subscribe to try anything once?
I do, but sometimes that can get you into trouble.
Within values and right, of course.
Yeah, with values.
Right, of course.
And nobody gets hurt. Yeah.
Right. Should everybody try to be an actor at least once?
No.
How come?
It's a hard job. You have to love it so much that you have to deal with so much rejection. You have to pull up so much stuff that you have to be like love it so much that it's not a chore to bring up your horrible childhood issues and the thing that your husband's abusing you because you come from molestation or whatever. It's like you have to love it so much that becomes a joy to do it. I see people when actors really are meant to be actors, when I bring up that kind of when I help them bring up the stuff that allows them to really explore character from its, I always say in the arts, the dark is your light. And the arts, the dark is the light. And so it is. When I see an actor who really wants to be an actor, and that's their passion and love, they light up when they go there. Right. But some people do that and be like, ugh, it would hurt. And I don't want to cause hurt and pain for anybody. And I think that that's what a true actor, nobody likes to be lied to. And if you're going to just hide behind a character, you're basically lying to your audience. So you're not doing anybody any help. You're not helping yourself because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to your audience who's pissed off at the fact because they feel being lied to. And so the people have told their honest truth of the darkest, things that have happened to them through their work and how they're trying to solve it. Because my work is all about solving it. The objective, I need to solve the problem of the character. Then how does that make sense to my life and the personalizations? And we're all about taking the bad and the darkness and turn it into involvement and light. And it's some version of prosperity. That is spiritual prosperity, emotional prosperity, actual physical prosperity. It's like it doesn't matter. We need to find a way to take the bad energy and turn it into positive energy, and you can do that. That's what dynamic people do. The whole thing about people who are really dynamic, you really look at their histories, they've had to live some fairly abusive histories. It doesn't necessarily have to be home environment. It could be peers, being bullied. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many places that things happen, that life happens. And it's how people take that information. 90% of the population of the world takes that information of hurt and pain and fear and use it as information to self-destruct with. But the dynamic people of the world, they're the ones that take the same exact information that most of the population destroy, self-destruct and self-loathe with, and it makes them, and they use it to say, I'm going to win, and I'm going to, prove you wrong, or the world wrong, or these other people, or the abuser wrong, and making the judgments about me, and I'm going to be and enjoy every damn second of proving you wrong. This is going to be fun, to do it, and then failure becomes like, okay, that's another one. I'm overcoming that. I'm using that because the path is always up and down. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. You're going to gain something and then you're going to fail. Then you're going to gain something, you're going to fail. But how you deal with failure is the mark of a dynamic person. Failure is to be solved, to be learned from, to grow from, and to explore growth from. And then the good stuff is great. You enjoy it, but you don't have to spend that much time with it other than to say, okay, how do I raise the bar? I accomplished this. I want to raise the bar. So you figure out what's the next thing. My first thing was publish this book, the first one. That was a lot of work. Then the next thing was get them in different languages. Then the next thing was getting them into more languages. And there's getting more teachers in schools around the world using it. I just got an email today saying that this very, very important, considered most important drama school in all of Germany, that is a government-run school, which is very important because that means it's even more high-end, is now officially using my technique.
That's awesome.
And my technique is the only one that, in terms of officially being used, is the only one that's an official using in that institution. So it's Oh, I gotta raise the bar. I gotta get more of those. So the thing is like the good is not to sit with. They said a lot of people just say, I'm just gonna sit on my laurels. I accomplished this. You try for something much bigger then, and something's bound to happen where you're going to fail, or somebody's going to say you can't do this, or someone's going to make fun of you or humiliate you or something like that. You have to use that as your, oh yeah, well, I'm going to win in spite of you and because of you. And then that's why there are so few people who have the balls to be able to fight that kind of resource in the face. That's why it's such a small percentage of people that actually are dynamic people.
We spent a lot of time at the beginning talking about finding the kernel, finding the truth, finding the thing that you should go off and do. And I think 95% of America wakes up and drives to a job that they hate. And so finding the kernel is the first part. For some people who found it, though, but don't believe in themselves enough to chase it down.
That's a good question, yeah.
What do I do?
Believe in yourself and chase it down.
Right.
See, this is the whole thing about censoring yourself. It's like, I can't. So what you got to do is say, I can and do it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't succeed.
Right.
But if you don't do anything, you absolutely won't. So that's like a lose-lose situation when you don't try. So it's not going to happen. I know what I want, but it's never going to happen. Well, that's a lose-lose. There's no win in that. But if you try, there's also the opportunity for you to actually succeed very well. You might fail too, but you have now a better chance to get what you wanted because you are actually chasing after something in a proactive way. Now, the more work you put towards it, the more you stop saying, I can't, and just do, the more successful your chances are you're going to be. Because money is gravy. It should always be gravy. It's a perk, which people should always go after, is the thing that they really just want to express in their lives, really going after their passion, the thing that they love to do. And money just finds its way somehow. I've been on this planet for a long last time, and I know I'm one of the first people that was one of the most self-loathing, self-destructive people, that existed. I took a lot of all my childhood abuse, and my mother being mentally ill and very physically violent and verbally abusive, and everything was you just never knew when things were going to go flying, and and really horrible things were going to happen. And my father was such a workaholic that he was never there. Good man, but he was never there. And doing a job he hated doing because he was trying to support a family. And so I did all kinds of self-destructive things. And so I didn't believe in myself. And then I ended up having a couple of moments of almost died because of incredibly bad self-destructive behavior. Wow. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I got to start looking at life differently and seeing it as something that I can grow from and not beat myself up from anymore. I want to be an actor, coming out to LA. That's where people get acting jobs. What do I need to do? I need to study. So I went and got an acting class. What do I need to do to pay for those classes? I worked at Ralph's. I worked at a supermarket, which I did college and high school too. I worked at major supermarket chains. They're horrible jobs to have. I don't think anybody's dream will ever be working at a supermarket. It's really a bad job. But anyway, I did that to support that, but it was okay because I was supporting my dream. That without me being an actor, I never would have gotten to be an acting teacher. Because that it had to go with that flow. It was finding its way by following the initial kernel, which is what that was, and working at the supermarket. It was a beautiful day when I could say, I'm making so much money acting and writing, I don't need to work here anymore. But the idea was that was a necessary thing and made my journey of being successful that much more satisfying. If you have to work for it and you have to do sucky jobs and you have to do things that you really hate doing, but doing it to support and finance the dream, that makes your it's like climbing Mount Everest. It's like to get to the top, you might die. You could slip and fall. It could be an avalanche. The air is different. You could not suffocate. All kinds of things could happen to you. But when you get to the top, it's like, ah, kind of moment. So it's the same kind of thing. If it was too easy, if you didn't have to work for it, if you didn't have to fail and then build yourself up again, it wouldn't be the satisfying win on the other side of things.
Do you think you have to hit rock bottom to climb to the top?
No, I don't think you have to hit rock bottom. I think you have to push the envelope so hard that rock bottom could happen.
But to get the motivation and drive to get to where it is?
You have to say, I'm willing to take the chance that I might hit rock bottom. And you might. But you don't have to. It's just you have to put yourself in that kind of like forward motion. Say, I'm going to work so hard and take so many chances. Remember, boundaries are meant to be crossed. Take boundaries out of like, your lexicon of things. I can't do this. There's a boundary here. I'm not supposed to do this because of don't have the education for that, or I can't do this because other people told me I can't do this, or I'm too old for this, or too young for this, or whatever. Take boundaries out of the thing, out of the lexicon of like things that you follow, and you just go like, I'm going to make choices that are so push the envelope, cutting edge choices that I could hit bottom with this, because that's when great things happen.
Was it hard for you to leave Detroit and come here?
Was it hard for me to leave Detroit and come here?
Yeah.
It's always sunny in California. It's not the end of Detroit. Start there. The weather. The little kid growing up saying, one day I'm going to live in Los Angeles where I don't have to sit there with snowdrifts around me, going like this all the time. And also, it just doesn't have the environment that I needed to have to do what I wanted to do. And I kind of always wanted to be an actor since I was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old.
But finally, at some point, you say, my life has to change. And it led some dark moments, and out of that, something has to change.
Before I graduated from college, because I said, I was studying anthropology, studying all these things that you were talking about before, like behavioral science, which has helped me a great deal. But I didn't need a degree in that.
Right.
I took art history classes. I took classes in literature, the sciences, the arts, the filmmaking, all kinds of things that I took classes in, just so I knew I was going to be in the arts, and I just needed to be well-rounded enough. If you're going to recreate real humanity, you have to understand all the parts of it. So instead of going to like acting classes there, I said, okay, I got the information I want, and I got 3.5 years in, but I kept changing my major so I could just learn a lot about every topic. Is that I'm very informed now in different characters and different scenarios. I script doctor for writers. I work with directors, so I understand so many things off of learning from that point of view. So I left there, and it was also during the time when I really hit bottom in that, and I said, let's just go. I learned a lot in school. Let's go to LA and let's be proactive.
I'm thinking just the emotional toll of you're leaving your family, you're going into uncertainty, you don't know what's going to happen there, you don't have a job.
You have to take chances.
Yeah.
You have to take chances that are cutting edge. If you play it safe, you get safe results. You play from fear, you get fearful results. If you play with courage, then you're going to get dynamic results. And so you have to have the courage to say, I may fail. You have to have the courage to go that far away into an environment that, by the way, is so extremely different to come from the suburbs of Detroit to coming to LA. You have no idea how many times people took advantage. I mean, like I got here and within 2 days I had someone steal my car, take all my money, try to take advantage, sexually, and it was just, and I said, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not going back. So I found a way. My own uncle wouldn't let me stay at his house. He lives in Brentwood. He wouldn't let me stay there one night. And so what I did was I got my parents to wire some money, stayed in this really crappy motel, and got a job at Ralph's, got a job at a supermarket, and then was able to get a tiny little apartment. I mean, really tiny. They didn't have room for a stove or nothing. It was just really tiny. Barely could have a bed. Had like a what do you call those burners? A plate.
Yeah.
What do you call those burners? They just all basically, it was like one little thing.
Coil.
The coil. Yeah. What?
Bunsen burner.
A little bit better than that, but like a Bunsen burner. some like actually meant for cooking Bunsen burner.
Right, okay.
And so it's but I was willing to take the chance that more stuff like that's going to happen. And more stuff like that did happen. I got married to a very abusive guy, thinking this was going to give me a safety net because I was scared. I was lonely. I was going to very foreign land. They spoke my language. That was about it. I felt very like a person in a foreign land. So I married this guy because, I don't know, I knew him 2 weeks. And it turned out to be one hell of an abusive man. And ultimately ended up being very physically abusive. First it was like very emotionally abusive, and then he became very physically abusive. I ended up in the hospital. Wow. And so lots of stuff happened, but I was not going to give up. I'm going to win in spite of and because of. And indeed what happened was I was getting acting jobs because I was using him as my substitution. I was using him in my writing to explore the passion of wanting to get my power back. So it became dynamic because I was using it to solve and empower myself to being a more powerful person.
Love that. One last question. Thank you for your time. As you're talking about dynamic personalities, for whatever reason, your daughter came into my head, and just trusting that energy. If she's watching this back in 10 years or 20 years and is going through mom's archives of video footage and this old YouTube video pops up and she's watching this whole thing, what do you hope that she then learns about you or takes away from it that she can reflect on for herself?
Well, it's an interesting question because she's actually seen every single one of the things I've done. She makes sure that she goes to my desktop a lot and just like investigates what I'm up to because I'm always writing something or working on something. She's feeding off of it. I hope that she uses me, because she's doing this, has used me as a role model to always be curious. And she respects me and looks up to me and she wants to learn from me. And that's something that, to me, my mother, because she was so crazy, and I don't know if it's part of the crazies or she's just not a very smart woman, but the point is, like, I didn't respect her. Right. So to have her already doing this, so we don't need 10 or 20 years, it's happening as we speak. She's one of the teachers in my school. She also runs the youth program, and she's also making a film. She graduated with honors from Tisch in filmmaking, NYU. And she's constantly trying to learn and grow and learn and grow and learn and grow. And her takeaway on what we're talking about today has already been taken away. She's already there. So for me, this would be, if she were to look at this in 10, 20 years, to say, honey, I'm so proud of you. You're a really amazing person. You're everything and more than I thought you could be.
I love that. Ivana Chubbuck, for people who want to dive deeper into your world, where do you want them to go next?
Well, my book is a really good resource. I found that just the whole concept of taking a character's journey and saying, take the pain and the hurt and the fear and turning that into your ability to overcome and win with is a great way to live life. And a lot of people all over the world are using it as a self-help book to be able to just say, I'm going to take if it works for a character, it's going to work for me. So they're taking their lives and they're using it for work, for their social, for their love relationships, for their relationships with their parents, making them more successful with their children, whatever. And just the book is a really, really good guide. It can be gotten in many, many, many languages.
Great. It's called The Power of the Actor. We'll link it up in the description. Thank you for your energy, your advice, your guidance, your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
If you like this interview, check out the one I did with John Ostroff on how to unlock the power of your brain. The link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Our job is to figure out, like, why am I here? It all started, because I never felt like I was smart enough, good enough,